Are you over 70 and still doing these things? Well, it might be time to rethink them. Find out what makes absolutely no sense after 70 and why letting go of certain habits can actually make life easier and more enjoyable. From holding on to a massive house that's just too much to manage, to stressing over diets that probably don't even work, and even overloading your social calendar when you'd rather just relax at home, some things just don't add up anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, life after 70 is full of wisdom and joy. But let's be honest, there are a few things we all could stand to leave behind. And hey, that's not a bad thing. It's about making room for what really matters. Stick around as we dive into 8 things that make no sense after 70. You might find yourself nodding, laughing, or even saying, "Yep, it's time to let that go." Let's jump in. 1. Keeping a busy social calendar. As we age, keeping a busy social calendar can often feel more like a burden than a blessing. Overscheduling yourself with too many commitments can lead to stress and exhaustion, leaving little room to truly enjoy the moment. While it's important to stay connected and active, constantly hopping from one engagement to the next can feel overwhelming, especially when you're no longer in your 30s or 40s. After 70, it's okay to embrace a slower pace, one that allows you to savor meaningful connections instead of rushing through them. Take, for example, Martha, a 74-year-old retiree who initially felt pressured to say yes to every invitation. Whether it was her weekly book club, Sunday brunches with friends, or even neighborhood committee meetings, she kept her calendar jam-packed. On paper, it looked like a lively and fulfilling social life, but in reality, she was exhausted. She started noticing that her energy was stretched too thin, and the activities that once brought her joy started to feel more like chores. One day, after skipping a much-needed nap to attend yet another event, Martha found herself frustrated and irritable instead of happy. That's when she realized something had to change. She decided to start saying no more often and became selective about what she committed to. She focused on the activities and relationships that truly mattered, letting go of the guilt of declining less important invitations. The results were transformative. With more time to herself, Martha felt more rested and present during the moments she did spend with loved ones. She even discovered new hobbies like gardening and painting, which she found far more fulfilling than trying to keep up with a never-ending social schedule. Saying no wasn't easy at first, but she quickly realized that prioritizing her well-being didn't make her less social. It made her a better version of herself for the people she cared about. The truth is, after 70, quality matters far more than quantity when it comes to social interactions. It's better to have a few meaningful conversations than to feel drained by superficial engagements. Simplifying your social calendar can free up time for rest, reflection, and deeper connections with the people and activities that truly bring joy to your life. Like Martha, you might find that less really is more. 2. Obsessing over physical appearance. As we age, our priorities tend to shift, and one of the biggest changes is how much or how little we care about appearances. In your 20s and 30s, looking polished and trendy might have been a top priority, but after 70, appearances often take a back seat to comfort, self-respect, and inner peace. That's not to say you shouldn't care about how you look, but spending hours obsessing over wrinkles, gray hair, or the latest fashion trends can feel more like a waste of time than a source of joy. At this stage, what truly matters is feeling good in your own skin and embracing who you are. Take Henry, for example, a 75-year-old who used to love wearing tailored suits and polished shoes wherever he went. Whether it was a trip to the grocery store or a casual coffee with friends, he always dressed to impress. But over time, he started noticing how much effort it took to keep up the appearance. One day, while struggling to button up his favorite blazer, which had admittedly shrunk a little, at least that's what he told himself, Henry paused and thought, "Why am I even doing this? That's when Henry decided it was time to trade in his suits for a more practical wardrobe. He swapped stiff jackets for soft cardigans, polished dress shoes for sneakers, and those restrictive ties for a collection of comfortable, colorful scarves. His friends teased him at first, calling him Mr. Cozy, but before long they were asking where he got his sweatpants because they looked so comfortable. What Henry realized was that obsessing over physical appearance didn't make him happier or more respected. In fact, once he embraced a more relaxed style, he felt freer and more confident. By focusing on what made him feel good rather than how others perceived him, he found a new kind of self-respect, one rooted in authenticity and comfort. At the end of the day, aging brings a certain kind of wisdom. You start to understand that how you feel matters more than how you look. A comfortable outfit, a genuine smile, and a sense of peace go much further than any wrinkle cream or designer suit ever could. It's not about letting yourself go. It's about letting go of the pressure to be someone you're not and enjoying the freedom to simply be yourself. 3. Trying to stay in the workforce. Too long after 70, the idea of staying in the workforce can feel less rewarding and more draining. While having a job might provide a sense of purpose or financial security earlier in life, there comes a time when it's better to step back and enjoy the freedom you've worked so hard to earn. At this stage, priorities shift. Chasing promotions, dealing with office politics, or enduring long hours often lose their appeal. Instead, retirement offers the chance to focus on what truly matters: health, family, hobbies, and meaningful experiences. Take Robert, for example, a 72-year-old who had spent more than 4 decades working as an accountant. Even after reaching the typical retirement age, he felt reluctant to leave the workforce. He thought, "What will I do with all my free time? What if I feel unproductive?" So Robert continued working part-time, convincing himself that he was still needed at the office. But as the months went by, he started feeling more fatigued, less motivated, and increasingly frustrated with the demands of his job. One day, while missing his grandson's birthday party because of a last-minute work deadline, Robert had an epiphany. He realized that he wasn't truly enjoying his life anymore. He was just going through the motions. With the support of his family, Robert finally decided to retire. At first, he felt uncertain about how he'd fill his days, but soon he discovered a whole new side of life. He joined a gardening club, took long walks with his wife, and even started writing a memoir about his years as an accountant. Now, Robert often reflects on how much joy he's found since leaving the workforce. "I thought my job was my identity," he says, "but retirement taught me that I'm so much more than my career." Life isn't about how much you earn or how many hours you work. It's about the people you love and the memories you create. After 70, staying in the workforce too long can rob you of precious time that could be spent doing what you truly love. Retirement isn't the end of productivity. It's the start of a new chapter, one where you can live at your own pace, pursue passions, and reconnect with the things that make life meaningful. It's not about giving up. It's about giving yourself the freedom to enjoy the fruits of your labor. 4. Holding on to a huge house. Holding on to a large home after 70 can often feel more like a burden than a blessing. Sure, it may be filled with memories, but maintaining a big house comes with downsides: empty rooms that gather dust, endless maintenance that eats into your time and energy, and higher costs that drain your finances. As life changes, so do our needs, and a massive house may no longer make sense for this stage of life. Downsizing to a smaller, more manageable space can bring a sense of freedom and relief you never knew you needed. Take Mary and John, a retired couple in their early 70s who lived in the same sprawling 4-bedroom home where they had raised their kids. When the kids moved out, the house felt eerily quiet, and most of the rooms went unused. Yet Mary and John still found themselves mowing a massive lawn, fixing leaky pipes and dusting furniture that no one used, not to mention the rising utility bills for heating and cooling all that empty space. One day, after a particularly grueling weekend of yard work, Mary suggested they consider downsizing. At first, John resisted. After all, the house held decades of cherished memories. But eventually, they toured a nearby retirement community with smaller, cozier homes. To their surprise, the idea of a simpler life started to feel more appealing. They made the leap, selling their big house and moving into a 2-bedroom bungalow with a small garden. The change was transformative. Without the burden of constant maintenance and high costs, Mary and John suddenly had more time and energy to enjoy their retirement. They joined community activities, traveled more often, and spent their weekends relaxing instead of working on the house. "It's like we've taken a weight off our shoulders," John said. "I never realized how much that big house was holding us back." For many, letting go of a large home can feel bittersweet, but it's often the first step toward a more liberated, enjoyable lifestyle. Downsizing doesn't mean giving up. It means embracing a space that fits your current needs and priorities. Instead of spending time and money maintaining a house, you'll gain the freedom to focus on what truly matters. 5. Worrying about diets and fads. As we age, the pressure to keep up with every new diet trend or food fad starts to feel less relevant. For many, the constant stream of the next big thing in nutrition, whether it's keto, paleo, intermittent fasting, or the latest superfood, can become overwhelming and frustrating. But after 70, it's often less about following the latest diet craze and more about enjoying balanced meals that support long-term health. Focusing on what makes your body feel good rather than what's trending can reduce stress and lead to a more satisfying, sustainable approach to eating. Take George, a 73-year-old who spent much of his earlier years jumping from one diet to the next. For a while, he was obsessed with the latest health fads, cutting out carbs one year, counting calories the next, and even trying juice cleanses. While he briefly enjoyed the results, he found that none of these diets were sustainable, and they left him feeling more frustrated than nourished. Each time a new diet trend emerged, George would dive right in, hoping it would finally be the one that worked. One day, after reading yet another article about the next miracle diet, George decided he'd had enough. He realized that what he truly needed was a simpler approach to food, one that didn't involve restriction or the stress of constantly calculating calories. He went back to basics, focusing on eating a variety of whole foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and drinking plenty of water. Gone were the days of feeling guilty over a missed workout or a slice of cake. What happened next surprised George. He felt healthier, had more energy, and even dropped a few pounds without trying to follow the latest fad. Instead of obsessing over whether he was eating the right things, George focused on nourishing his body in a way that made sense for him, and the results were positive. He was no longer a slave to the diet industry's pressure. He simply ate foods that made him feel good and supported his overall well-being. At the end of the day, dieting after 70 doesn't need to be about chasing trends. It's about embracing a balanced, realistic approach to eating. The goal is to fuel your body with nourishing foods that you enjoy, not to keep up with the ever-changing world of diets. Life's too short to worry about whether you're eating the perfect meal. What matters most is feeling good and taking care of yourself in a way that lasts. 6. Keeping a cluttered home. A cluttered home can feel overwhelming, especially as we get older. All those "I'll use it someday" items or sentimental keepsakes can pile up, turning your living space into a source of stress rather than comfort. Decluttering isn't just about cleaning. It's about creating an environment that promotes mental clarity, reduces stress, and allows you to fully enjoy your space. When your home is simplified, your mind feels lighter, and your daily life becomes so much easier to manage. Take the story of Margaret, a 74-year-old retired teacher who had a house packed with decades of memories. From old textbooks and teaching supplies to piles of her kids' school projects, her home was bursting at the seams. She often joked, "I could open a museum with all this stuff." But deep down, Margaret felt trapped by all the clutter. She had a hard time finding things she actually needed and found herself constantly worried about tripping over boxes or furniture. One day, after struggling to find her favorite pair of glasses in the chaos, Margaret decided it was time to make a change. She tackled her home one room at a time, sorting items into keep, donate, and toss piles. At first, she hesitated to part with things, especially those tied to fond memories. But as she went on, she realized that holding on to too much was holding her back. She decided to keep only the most meaningful items and let go of everything else. The transformation was incredible. With her space finally cleared, Margaret felt a sense of relief she hadn't experienced in years. She could move around her home freely, enjoy her favorite cozy corners, and even rediscover some cherished belongings she had forgotten about. "It's like my home is breathing again," she laughed, "and so am I." Holding on to too much stuff can weigh you down, both physically and emotionally. Decluttering isn't about losing the things that matter. It's about freeing yourself from the things that don't. A tidy, organized home can be a source of peace and joy, allowing you to focus on what's truly important, living your life to the fullest. 7. Overusing technology. Technology has undoubtedly made life easier, but after 70, it's easy to fall into the trap of overusing gadgets and social media. While staying connected online can be a great way to pass time, it can also take away from the richness of real-life experiences. Scrolling endlessly through social media, binge-watching TV shows, or constantly checking notifications might seem harmless, but it often replaces meaningful activities like spending time with loved ones, exploring hobbies, or simply enjoying nature. Take Frank, a 72-year-old grandfather who found himself glued to his tablet for hours every day. What started as checking emails and reading the news turned into scrolling through social media for hours and binge-watching videos late into the night. His family started to notice he was less engaged during visits, often responding with just a while his eyes stayed locked on the screen. Frank began feeling isolated, even though he was connected online. One day, his 10-year-old granddaughter visited and asked, "Grandpa, why do you look at your phone more than you look at me?" That simple question was a wake-up call. Frank decided to put down his tablet and spend the afternoon playing board games with her. They laughed, shared stories, and had more fun than Frank had experienced in months. He realized how much he had been missing by living life through a screen instead of being present in the moment. Since then, Frank set boundaries for his technology use. He now limits his screen time and prioritizes activities like gardening, taking walks, and hosting coffee chats with friends. He found that real conversations and shared experiences were far more fulfilling than anything a screen could offer. "I'll still check the news," he joked, "but now I make sure I'm the headline in my own life." Technology is a tool, not a replacement for living. While it's great for staying informed and connected, too much reliance on gadgets can rob you of the simple joys of real-life experiences. Setting boundaries and prioritizing face-to-face interactions can make life feel richer and more meaningful after 70. 8. Ignoring physical activity. As we grow older, staying physically active becomes more important than ever. Ignoring physical activity might seem harmless in the short term, but over time, it can lead to reduced mobility, weakened muscles, and even increased health risks like heart issues or joint pain. The truth is, our bodies were designed to move, and even a little bit of regular activity can make a world of difference in how we feel, both physically and mentally. Staying active isn't about hitting the gym or running marathons. It's about keeping your body strong and capable for everyday tasks. Take Helen, a 75-year-old widow who found herself sitting more than she used to after her husband passed. She spent most of her days watching TV or reading on the couch. Slowly, she noticed it was harder to get up the stairs, and her knees began to ache more often. One day, her grandson invited her to take a walk around the block, and Helen was shocked at how winded she felt after just 10 minutes. That moment made her realize she had been neglecting her physical health. Determined to make a change, Helen started small. She began with gentle stretching exercises every morning, followed by short walks around her neighborhood. Over time, she added light strength exercises, like lifting water bottles, to build her arm strength. Within weeks, she noticed a big difference. Not only could she climb the stairs more easily, but she also felt more energetic and slept better at night. Helen joked, "I may not be as fast as I used to be, but I sure feel stronger now." Staying active has become part of Helen's daily routine. She loves her morning walks, often stopping to chat with neighbors or admire the flowers in their gardens. Helen realized that keeping her body moving wasn't just about staying healthy. It also gave her a sense of purpose and connection to her surroundings. The key takeaway? It's never too late to start moving. Ignoring physical activity can lead to a slower, less mobile lifestyle. But making even small efforts to stay active can have incredible benefits. Whether it's a daily walk, light stretching, or simply dancing to your favorite song, keeping your body moving is one of the best ways to stay healthy and happy after 70. Conclusion. And that's a wrap on the 8 things that make no sense after 70. Remember, it's not about sticking to old habits. It's about embracing new ways to live more freely, joyfully, and comfortably. If you found yourself guilty of any of these, don't worry. It's never too late to make a change. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a comment below. Tell me if you agree with these points or if there's anything else you'd add to the list. And hey, if you think this video was helpful, give it a like and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care, stay active, and always keep learning. See you in the next video.